TV host Lynn White and Dr. Jackie Guzda, who's a media professor at Western Connecticut University. Great to see you both today. Here's the thing. Last week, when New York City saw its first case of Ebola, what we had the mayor and the governor and Dr. Fauci and the CDC folks coming out and saying there is no risk to the general public from this doctor who's been serving in West Africa. He was not symptomatic when he was out riding the subways, when he was at the bowling alley. And yet the governor turns around and says, but if you come back to a New York City airport from West Africa, we're going to quarantine you, even if you're not symptomatic. It's a conflicting message.
And it's also politics, don't you think? The guy is running for governor. He's standing there with the other governor that's running for something from New Jersey. And it's just, it seems staged. It didn't seem realistic. And there's right now, there are too many conflicting ideas of what to do about it. When you have the military doing one thing, the president saying enough of this hysteria, and then you have somebody who's been quarantined against her will saying, enough for me. I have my rights. I'm going outside.
When we look at the polls, when people are asked, what they're seeing is the majority of people want to see these mandatory quarantines in place. People are scared. When you heard that the doctor had taken the subway and now has Ebola, did you ask yourself, was I on the one train? Did I take the A train?
Of course, of course. But here's the thing. They're utilizing fear to sell their message. I mean, if you are afraid of something, you will act irrationally to make yourself safe, to make your loved ones safe. Now, Lynn's right. What's getting in the way now is turning this into a political issue. You have the two governors who are running for office. Nobody knows this, but the governor of Connecticut, Daniel Malloy, he's quarantined 8 people so far. One of them wasn't even a he worked in an IT office.
And here's then the result. So you have public hysteria and fear over catching Ebola, even though the people who know Ebola best say there is no risk of getting Ebola unless people are symptomatic. And they're only symptomatic if they've been treating Ebola.
Exactly.
Bellevue staff now say they're being discriminated against. There's a Bellevue nurse who says that her child was sent home from daycare. She's not even treating the Ebola patient at Bellevue Hospital. There was a Bellevue nurse who says, I went into the stylist, the hair salon, and I was asked to go see someone else to cut my hair.
Well, that's a part of the hysteria the president was talking about. But, you know, there was a big joke today. Kim Kardashian's had more husbands than there have been people who have died in this country from Ebola. There's been exactly 1.
Yeah.
So we have to remember that. And again, the doctor, you talk about him going on the subway, going bowling. He was asymptomatic, apparently, when he did that. He's a doctor. He knows the signs. He went to his home. He called the CDC, supposedly to say, I now have a fever. So, I want to come in.
So what we're also saying, you know, it's interesting. This is all happening on a day we're talking about Governor Christie's take on Ebola. He got a lot of attention today for an anniversary of Hurricane Sandy. We're 2 years since then. He was out at an event talking about Sandy recovery, and he got challenged by someone in the crowd who's a Sandy victim and still struggling to recover. Let me play what the governor had to say.
You want to have the conversation later? I'm happy to have it, buddy. But until that time, sit down and shut up. I'll be more than happy to have a debate with you anytime you like, Guy, because somebody like you who doesn't know a damn thing about what you're talking about except to stand up and show off when the cameras are here.
Mr. Manners, huh? But the problem with that is he was talking about something very important.
Who
Sandy,
was the heckler?
The governor and the people there. That's obfuscated. Nobody's talking about it. And the money that's still needed and the people who are still homeless. That's a big problem in our area. Instead, we're focused on him and his bad manners.
Entertaining, right? It's diverting the subject away from people who are suffering, who lost their homes, into this entertainment. We're all laughing.
And by the way, the point the guy was trying to make in the crowd is that there's $1 billion to be handed out to Sandy victims, roughly a quarter of which has actually been handed out. Governor Christie says blame the federal government for its guidelines, and the federal government says we gave New Jersey all kinds of latitude to hand the money out.
Sure. And it's about time those people get aid.
Right. And I'm glad that he stood up and talked about it, because there's a shadow over this governor, and he pretends it's not there.
Does that matter, that kind of bullying behavior from the pulpit, so to speak?
Well, we all hear that this is not going to transfer into the Midwest. Nobody likes that kind of, you know, Northeast bullying. I think we find him kind of entertaining over here.
Yeah, but he is kind of New Jersey rough. As you said, in Iowa, that's not going to play.
Maybe it's my Midwestern sensibility coming out. I mean,
so you're saying if he ran, you would not be one of his
No, I'm not saying
supporters.
that. I just think it's a rough way to talk to anybody.
Absolutely.
Even in private, much less